The plea no one heard. The planet Varellus was once a quiet world filled with blue forests, glowing lakes, and peaceful cities. Children played in the floating gardens, and elders walked under the warm twin suns. But everything changed the day the HFY Dominion arrived. Their warships fell from the sky like dark shadows, and their armies marched across the land without warning. Cities burned, families hid underground, and hope slowly died. Commander Lyra Velen, only 23, stood at the top of the broken communication tower. Her silver armor was covered in dust, and her face was tired, but her eyes still held fire. She was the youngest commander in Varellus history, and now she was one of the last still fighting. Below her, the capital city was half destroyed. Buildings collapsed into the streets, smoke covered the sky, and frightened citizens moved quietly through ruins searching for safety. Lyra knew they could not survive another attack. The HFY never stopped. They hunted. They destroyed. They consumed. The Varellian Council had tried everything. They sent messages to the Galactic Union, the Tristar Alliance, the Highborn Coalition, and dozens of other mighty empires. Every message said the same thing. We beg for aid. Our planet is dying. Please help us. But no help ever came. Every government replied with excuses. We cannot interfere. Varellus is too far. Our fleets are busy. Some did not reply at all. The galaxy watched Varellus fall and looked away. Lyra could not understand it. They were not asking for money, land, or power. They were asking only for protection, only for help to survive. When the council met again, their faces were full of fear. Our shield defenses are gone, one elder said. The HFY will return within a day, another whispered. We must evacuate the children, a third added, though they all knew there was nowhere left to send them. Commander Lyra stood in front of them. We can still send a distress signal, she said. Maybe one empire will hear us. But the council looked defeated. No one is coming, the elder speaker said softly. The galaxy has forgotten us. Lyra refused to believe that. She walked back to the broken tower at night, climbed through smashed metal beams and reached the old transmitter. It was damaged but not dead. She connected wires with her own hands and powered it up. The machine hummed weakly. She opened the channel and began to speak. This is Commander Lyra Velen of Varellus. Our world is under attack by the HFY Dominion. We have lost most cities. Millions are in danger. If you hear this, please help us. Her voice cracked at the end. Silence followed. Only static. She tried again. If anyone is listening, even a small ship, even one squad, please don't ignore us like the others. More silence. Lyra lowered her head. She felt the weight of her people's suffering pressing on her shoulders. She thought about the children who were hiding in the underground shelters. The youngest survivors who did not understand why the sky kept burning. She whispered to herself, there must be someone out there who cares. She sent the signal again. And again. And again. Hours passed. The stars remained quiet. Then, as she was about to shut the transmitter down, the machine made a sound she had never heard before. A voice. A human voice. Varellus command, the message said, deep and calm, we received your signal. Lyra froze. Humans? She had only heard stories about them. Most alien races feared humans. They were from a death world, a planet so dangerous that only the strongest could survive. Their reputation was brutal. Fighters, survivors, hard as steel. But they were also known for something else. They never ignored a cry for help. The message continued. This is Admiral Marcus Hale of the United Terran Fleet. Hold your ground. Help is on the way. Lyra's heart pounded. A Terran fleet? Humans were sending military ships? She quickly activated the reply channel. Admiral Hale, are you sure you received the correct signal? We asked the galaxy for help, but no one. We heard you, he interrupted. And we don't leave allies behind. But we are not your allies, she said quietly. We are now, he replied. The transmission cut. Lyra stared at the sky. Could humans really come? Were they strong enough to fight the HFY Dominion? Minutes later, the ground began to vibrate. The air trembled. People stepped out of the ruins and looked upward. A massive shadow covered the sky. Then another. And another. One by one, enormous battleships appeared through the clouds, black, silver, and glowing with energy. Hundreds of human ships flew in perfect formation, engines roaring like thunder. The Varellians gasped, some in fear, some in hope. Commander Lyra whispered. Humanity actually came. The galaxy had ignored their plea. But humans had answered, with a war armada powerful enough to shake the stars. The human fleet emerges. The human fleet filled the sky like a moving wall of metal and fire, blocking out the twin suns of Varellus. Every ship looked different from the smooth, decorated vessels of the other alien empires. Human warships were built for survival, for battle, for destruction. Their hulls were thick, sharp, and powerful, like giant beasts made of steel. Commander Lyra stood on the highest balcony of the council hall, watching them with wide eyes. Around her, Varelian citizens stared in silence. Some trembled, some cried, some touched the ground as if praying. They had never seen anything like this. Human dreadnoughts appeared first, huge ships the size of floating mountains. Behind them came the destroyers, fast and angry. Farther back, hundreds of fighter ships moved in tight formations like flocks of metallic birds. The entire armada moved with purpose, with discipline, and with a force that made even the air feel heavier. For the first time since the KRYTH invasion, the people of Varellus felt something they had almost forgotten. Oh! A voice came through the city's speakers. "This is Admiral Marcus Hale of the United Terran Fleet," it announced. "Varellus, you are under Terran protection now." The council members looked at each other in disbelief. "The humans, they are serious," one whispered. "They're actually here for us," another said, tears in his eyes. Lyra activated her communicator. "Admiral Hale, this is Commander Lyra Velen. We are grateful. But why would the Terran fleet come for us? We are strangers to you." There was a short silence. Then Hale replied in a strong, calm voice. "Because no one else did." Lyra felt her chest tighten. The humans did not ask for payment. They did not demand territory. They did not request allegiance. They simply came. Suddenly, alarms echoed across the city. Red lights flashed. Sensors screamed. "The KRYTH fleet is approaching," an officer shouted inside the command center. They detected the human ships. Lyra ran into the control room. "Show me," she ordered. The holographic display lit up, showing dozens of red enemy markers approaching Varellus. The KRYTH Dominion had returned to finish what they started. They did not know a new power stood between them and victory. Lyra connected to Admiral Hale again. "Admiral, the KRYTH are coming. They will try to attack again." Hale's voice did not shake even slightly. "They're welcome to try." On the human flagship UTS Valor, Admiral Hale stood on the command deck. He was tall, with sharp eyes and a scar that ran across his jaw. He had seen many wars, many horrors, and many dying worlds. But he had never let a cry for help go unanswered. "Prepare all ships," he ordered. "Activate shields, charge weapons, launch fighters." Human officers moved quickly. Red lights illuminated the dark steel halls. Pilots rushed to their fighters. Engines roared to life. Lyra watched from the surface as hundreds of human fighters shot forward, forming a protective wall around the planet. The larger ships moved like giants taking their positions on a battlefield. The KRYTH fleet arrived moments later. Sharp, insect-like ships burst out of hyperspace, glowing with sickly green energy. Their twisted designs made them look hungry, like predators searching for their next victim. "The KRYTH are scanning the human fleet," a Varelian officer said. "They seem confused, they don't recognize these ships." Lyra almost smiled. The galaxy had grown used to ignoring humans. But the KRYTH would soon learn that humans were nothing like the peaceful empires they bullied. A KRYTH commander sent a transmission across space. "Unknown vessels, this is KRYTH Dominion Sector Fleet. Identify yourselves or be destroyed." Admiral Hale gave a short laugh. "Terran Fleet, United Human Systems," he replied calmly. "We don't take orders from slavers." The KRYTH commander hissed. "You protect weak creatures who should be ours." "Not today," Hale answered. "Not ever again." The KRYTH fleet began to charge their weapons. Human ships charged theirs too. Lyra could feel the tension in the air. It felt like the whole planet was holding its breath. Then Admiral Hale spoke one last time, his voice cold and sharp. "Commander Lyra, keep your people safe. The Terran fleet will handle this." Lyra stepped to the window and whispered, "Good luck, all of you." The KRYTH opened fire. Green beams shot across space like burning spears. But before they could hit the human fleet, Admiral Hale raised his hand and shouted, "Fire!" Human ships unleashed a storm of blue and white energy. The sky exploded with light. KRYTH ships burst into flames. The battlefield turned into chaos. And Lyra realized something that sent chills down her spine. The humans did not come to negotiate. They came to fight. They came to win. They came to save Varellus with an unstoppable war armada, just like their message promised. The First Battle of Varellus. The battle began with a soundless flash of light across space, a wave of blue fire from human cannons meeting the sickly green beams of the HFY Dominion. To the people on the surface, it looked like the night sky was tearing apart. Explosions lit up the atmosphere, creating bright scars above the ruined city. Commander Lyra stood on the balcony again, her hands gripping the metal rail as she watched the impossible unfold. For months, the HFY had crushed Varellus without effort. But now for the first time she saw the enemy struggling. She saw them falling back. The HFY flagship roared forward, firing giant plasma bursts. The ground trembled each time their cannons shot. "Admiral, hail to all Terran ships," the human commander said through the comms. "Hold formation. No ship breaks line." Human dreadnoughts moved like ancient giants, slow but unstoppable. Their armor absorbed the first wave of HFY fire. Sparks flew across their hulls but they did not break. Instead they charged forward, engines burning brighter. On the bridge of the UTS Valor, Admiral Hale stood tall. "Target their forward cruisers," he ordered. "Fire disruptors on my mark." A human officer counted down. 3, 2, 1, mark. A massive white beam shot from the Valor's main cannon, slicing through 2 HFY ships at once. The enemy vessels burst into flames, spinning into the darkness like broken toys. The Varelians watching from below gasped, many falling to their knees. They destroyed 2 ships with 1 shot," a council member whispered. "No empire has weapons like that," another said, trembling. Lyra heard them, but she kept her eyes on the sky. The battle was far from over. The HFY responded with fury. Hundreds of enemy fighters swarmed the human fleet like insects, glowing green and moving fast. They circled dreadnoughts, trying to find weak spots in the armor. Admiral Hale spoke calmly. "Release the drones." From every human ship, small black spheres shot outward, unfolding into razor-thin wings. They moved with deadly precision, locking onto HFY fighters and cutting them down one by one. Explosions formed tiny stars across the battlefield. But the HFY were not done. Their heavy cruisers broke formation and dove toward the planet, aiming for the surface. If they could not win in space, they would destroy Varellus directly. "Admiral," Lyra cried through the communicator. "They're heading for the cities." "I see them," Hale replied. "Terran fighters intercept." Human pilots reacted instantly. Hundreds of fast attack ships streaked toward the descending HFY cruisers. Blue trails followed behind them like rivers of light. The first human squad locked onto a HFY cruiser. "Missiles ready," the pilot said. "Fire," Hale ordered. Dozens of missiles launched at once, slamming into the cruiser. The ship cracked in half and exploded before it could reach the atmosphere. The second cruiser pushed harder, burning through clouds, its cannons ready to fire at the ground. Lyra shouted, "They'll hit the shelters." But before the HFY ship could attack, 3 human destroyers dropped from orbit, placing themselves directly in its path. "Shield wall," the human commander ordered. The destroyers activated their shields, forming a glowing barrier. The HFY cruiser fired everything it had, shaking the shields, cracking them, almost breaking them. But they held. Humanity held. Then the destroyers fired back, destroying the cruiser with a final, thunderous blast. On the surface, Varelian children in underground shelters cheered as the sky brightened from the explosion. Lyra finally allowed herself to breathe. But the battle was not over yet. The HFY flagship prepared its deadliest weapon, a massive energy cannon that could wipe out an entire city in one shot. Its glowing charge grew brighter and brighter, lighting up the sky like a second sun. Lyra felt her heart stop. "Admiral Hale, that weapon, it can destroy half the planet." Hale did not hesitate. "All ships, focus fire on their flagship." Human warships turned their cannons toward the HFY command vessel. "Charge all main guns," Hale ordered. "Prepare final volley." The HFY cannon reached full power, glowing blinding green. The human fleet fired first. Blue and white beams hit the HFY flagship from every direction. Flames erupted across its hull. Explosions tore through its sides. But the HFY weapon kept charging. "Admiral," someone shouted. "It's not enough." Hale narrowed his eyes. "Then we give more." He activated the Valor's overdrive core. The ship shook violently. Lights flickered. But its main cannon glowed brighter than ever. "Fire," Hale whispered. The beam that shot forth was so powerful that even the Varelians on the surface had to shield their eyes. It hit the HFY flagship directly in the center. A moment of silence. Then, boom. The flagship erupted, breaking apart into thousands of burning pieces. The giant green cannon exploded before it could fire at the planet. The enemy fleet panicked. Some retreated. Some went dark. Some simply drifted, destroyed. The humans had won the first battle. Lyra stared at the sky with tears in her eyes. "They saved us," she whispered. "Humans, they actually saved us." But Admiral Hale was not celebrating. Because he knew the HFY Dominion would return. And next time they would not come alone. Why humanity came. The smoke from the battle slowly faded from the sky. Pieces of destroyed HFY ships burned as they fell through the atmosphere like dark shooting stars. The people of Varalis watched in silence, still trying to understand what had happened. For the first time in months, the sky did not bring fear. It brought protection. Commander Lyra stood outside the council hall, staring at the human fleet still guarding the planet like a wall of steel giants. The air smelled of dust and fire, but something else was in the air too: hope. A voice came through her communicator. "Commander Lyra, this is Admiral Hale. I'd like to meet you." Lyra nodded. "I will come at once." The humans sent a small shuttle to pick her up. As she stepped inside, she noticed how different the human design was. Their ships did not look beautiful or artistic. They looked practical, strong, and tough. Every surface was metal, reinforced and scratched from past battles. When the shuttle docked with the massive flagship UTS Valor, Lyra felt a weight in her chest. She was entering the heart of the fleet that had saved her people. Inside the human ship, everything smelled faintly of oil and clean air. Human officers moved quickly through the halls, focused and serious. Their uniforms were dark blue, marked with silver stripes. They looked disciplined, like they were always prepared for the next fight. A human officer guided her to the command bridge. The doors opened and Admiral Marcus Hale stood waiting. He looked older than she expected. His eyes were sharp, but his face carried the lines of someone who had seen too many wars. "Commander Lyra," he greeted, "welcome aboard the Valor." "Admiral Hale," she bowed slightly, "you saved our world. I do not know how to thank you." Hale shook his head. "You don't owe us anything." His answer surprised her. She stepped closer. "But why come at all? You received our message, but so did hundreds of other empires. They ignored us. Why didn't you?" Hale was silent for a moment. He walked to the large window looking out at the stars. "Because we know what it feels like," he said quietly. Lyra frowned. "What do you mean?" Hale placed his hands behind his back. His voice grew heavy as if he was remembering something painful. "A long time ago, when humanity was still exploring the galaxy, our colonies were attacked. Millions died. We sent distress signals to every major empire. We begged for help. And no one came?" Lyra whispered. Hale nodded once. "No one. Not a single ship. They said we were too small, too aggressive, too dangerous. They thought we weren't worth saving." Lyra felt a chill down her spine. "We survived only because we fought alone," Hale continued, "and after that day humanity made a promise." He turned to face her, eyes sharp. "No cry for help will ever be ignored again." Lyra stared at him. She had heard stories about humans, dangerous, powerful, unpredictable. She had believed those stories. But now she saw something different. Humans were not monsters. They were protectors born from pain. "Is this why you built such a massive fleet?" she asked. "Yes," Hale replied. "We built it so no innocent world would feel abandoned like we did." Lyra stepped closer to the window, watching the human ships float silently in formation. "Admiral Hale," she said softly, "my people owe you their lives." "You owe us nothing. We help because it is right," he answered. Suddenly the calm moment ended. A loud alarm echoed through the bridge. Red lights flashed. Hale's expression hardened. "Report," he commanded. A human officer quickly responded. Long-range scans detect a massive energy surge. The HFY are gathering ships at the edge of the system. Lyra's heart pounded. "How many?" The officer swallowed. "At least 3 times the size of the fleet we just fought." A cold silence filled the room. The HFY Dominion was angry. They had been beaten once. Now they were coming with everything they had. Hale turned to Lyra. "This is the counterattack. They won't stop next time." Lyra nodded. "We will fight with you." Hale shook his head. "Your people are injured. Your cities are destroyed. You need to protect your civilians." "But we cannot hide while you face this alone," she argued. Hale stared at her for a long moment. Then he said something she never expected. "Then stand with us. Humanity does not run from darkness. And neither will you." Lyra felt a spark of pride and courage rise in her chest. She looked out at the stars again, and for the first time she was not afraid, because now she understood why humans came. Not for power. Not for territory. Not for fame. They came because no one else would, and they would fight for Varellus until the end. The Dominion falls. The stars above Varellus grew darker as the KRYH Dominion returned. Their ships arrived slowly at first, one, then 5, then dozens, until the entire edge of the system glowed green with the light of their massive war armada. It was a sight strong enough to break the spirit of any peaceful world. But Varellus was no longer alone. Humanity stood ready. Commander Lyra returned to the surface to coordinate ground defenses, while Admiral Marcus Hale prepared the Terran fleet for the biggest battle of their lives. The command bridge of the UTS Valor was filled with tension. Every officer moved quickly, their voices steady but their hearts heavy. They knew the KRYH would not retreat this time. Enemy fleet count confirmed, a human officer reported, their numbers triple our own. Hale nodded slowly. They think numbers will save them. He turned to his second in command. Ready all ships. Today the KRYH learn what humanity does when outnumbered. On the surface, Varelians gathered in the ruins of their once great city. They looked up at the sky, watching the human ships form defensive lines. Some carried old weapons. Others simply stood together, knowing this battle would decide their future. Lyra spoke to her people through the speakers. Stay calm. Stay strong. The humans fight with us today. Cheers rose from the crowd, small at first, then louder. Above them, the KRYH commander finally sent a transmission. Terran fleet, the voice hissed, you protect weak creatures who belong to us. Stand down or be destroyed. Admiral Hale answered without fear. We didn't come for war, he said, but we're not leaving until Varellus is safe. The KRYH laughed. You will die here. Hale's eyes hardened. We'll see. The battle began with a roar of light. KRYH warships charged forward like a tidal wave of metal. Their cannons fired in all directions, painting the darkness with green fire. The first blast struck the human shield line, shaking the dreadnoughts but not breaking them. Hold the line. Hale ordered. Human destroyers moved in formation, blocking enemy shots and returning fire with heavy beams that cut through enemy armor like hot blades. But the KRYH kept coming. Admiral, they're trying to surround us, the tactical officer warned. Then we break their circle, Hale replied. He gave a new order. All Terran fighters, launch. Thousands of human fighters burst from their hangars, streaking into battle like a storm of blue comets. They crashed into the KRYH swarm head-on. Explosions filled the sky as pilots fought against impossible odds, refusing to retreat. On the surface, Lyra watched the battle on a giant screen. She could see human pilots dying, ships burning, but she also saw them pushing forward with a fire she had never seen before. This is what they mean by Deathworld courage, she whispered. The KRYH flagship began charging its superweapon again, a cannon capable of turning entire cities into ash. Lyra shouted into the comms, Admiral, they're powering the planet killer. I see it, Hale answered. Prepare the final strike. The Terran fleet regrouped. Human dreadnoughts formed a spearhead. Destroyers lined up behind them. Fighters cleared a path through enemy fire. Hale stood up straight, his voice calm. All ships, full power to engines. Charge main cannons. Today we end this. The Terran fleet surged forward in a single unified wave. KRYH ships tried to block them, but human fire tore through their lines. One by one, enemy cruisers exploded into pieces. Yet the KRYH flagship's weapon kept growing brighter, larger, deadlier. Varellus trembled as the weapon reached full charge. If it fired, the planet would be lost. Admiral. 30 seconds until discharge. Hale gave the final command. Fire everything. The Terran armada unleashed its full power. Hundreds of beams. Thousands of missiles. Energy so bright it lit the entire night sky. The KRYH flagship took the hits. Its armor cracked. Its engines burst. Its weapon overloaded. And then the entire ship exploded in a massive shockwave that rolled across space like a dying star. Every KRYH ship in the system froze. Their commander was dead. Their weapon destroyed. Their fleet broken. One by one they retreated or surrendered. The Dominion had fallen. When the last enemy ship vanished into the darkness, the sky above Varellus turned calm again. The burning fires faded. The stars slowly returned. Lyra fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. We survived, she whispered. We actually survived. Admiral Hale's voice came through the communicator. Varalis is safe. The Carewage won't return. Lyra wiped her eyes and responded, humanity saved us. We will never forget this. Later that night, Varelians gathered in the remains of their capital. They lit bright blue lanterns and sent them drifting into the sky, a symbol of peace and new beginnings. Above them, the human fleet floated silently, watching over the recovering world like guardians born from fire. Lyra looked up at the Valor and whispered with a smile. When the galaxy ignored our plea, humanity answered. And from that day onward, the people of Varalis told stories about the day humans came. Not as conquerors, not as monsters, but as the only species brave enough to save a dying world when all others turned away.